Look, it's Ultraman.
There he is.
Who is that silver man?
Oh, he shrunk
Hello,
down
friends.
he shrunk down to real small size.
Yeah.
He's incognito right now. He's got to keep it small. Oh, there he is.
I'm a nerd.
Yeah, we're all big nerds.
Well, Ultraman is just such a classic from our childhood, and
I love its retroness. It hasn't changed at all. Like he's got that retroness. It's cool.
But it's one of those things that I loved when I was a kid because it was so unusual. It was unlike anything on American television. When I was a little kid, I was watching things like Star Trek and Lost in Space and things like that, and I loved science fiction. And this was so bizarre that I couldn't figure out what is Ultraman. You didn't even know what he was.
That's right.
Well, even the early, the title treatment, the credits were like, what is that? The song, the music, everything about it was just off center. But that's what made it great, and that's why it endures to this day, and why they made a huge budget, Japanese Ultraman film called Shin Ultraman that was released in Japan in this year, and it's going to be released in the U.S. Early 2023. So it's a cool thing.
It's a similar vibe to the Shin Godzilla by the same folks, and it's kind of like a reboot of classic Japanese kaiju characters. The Shin Godzilla we've talked about, if you go back in time and in our history that we reviewed Shin Godzilla, it was a different take on Godzilla. Godzilla was a different thing, he wasn't he wasn't the same Godzilla, but it was. I love reboots. If a person comes in and changes the character, a fictional character like that, it's like cool. What are they going to do with it?
Yeah,
right.
It doesn't hurt. The old Showa era Godzilla movies that I love so much, but this one is a different take on Ultraman than the old 60s and 70s and 80s and 90s and Ultraman stuff. It never ends. But this is a different take on it, and it's a really cool take on it, I think.
Yeah.
It has a little bit of humor, like the original one did.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Kathy. Sorry.
No, I was going to say they modernize it, but they still kind of keep a kind of analog retro feel. But I love how they brought it into the age of social media.
Yes.
And so you have like this weird thing happening, and everyone's like, what's this? What's going on? And, I love the idea of that, him being part of that. And also I feel like they, not only did they kind of reboot it, but they made you realize that there was a history, like there really is, that he's come back, like this man we haven't seen in a while. Like, I love that idea. And I love that all these younger people who weren't around for Ultraman, even in reality, were kind of like, what is this? Like, like what's going on? Like, I really thought that was cool to see them being enthralled by the same thing we all were. That was very, very cool.
And like you were saying, it has that retro vibe to it, and I think that's what. I mean, if they'd done a reboot and just made it totally modern and did it in the style that we're used to see, like if they made it like an Avengers movie or a Marvel film or something, where Ultraman is just a superhero and he's fighting some giant monster like a giant Thanos or something, it might be fun, but it wouldn't stand out like this one does, because this one is not like a Marvel film. It's not like an American film at all. The pacing of it, the storyline, the plot line, the narrative thread, it has a distinctly Japanese vibe to it, which I love. And they kept it. Even the sound of the phone ringing is the same sound effect from the original 60s show.
Yeah,
the theme that he uses was animated by the same guy who animated the one in the original series. It's
Well, great respect for the original series.
Yes.
The opening title credits, the same thing with the swirling paint and all that kind of stuff, and so they obviously love it. And they said, we're going to keep this stuff in. We'll sort of up the budget and make it look better in some ways. And it does. Yeah. I mean, it looks photorealistic. It looks, when he sort of gets giant, it looks like that's really a giant Ultraman on some, it's in the countryside. It's very cool, but the kaiju, the monsters early on, have a distinct feel that feels like 60s stuff, so.
Yeah.
And again, because that's who I am, just seeing the original monsters that he comes down to save them from, I felt bad for them because they were just, out there, doing their thing, and he's just digging in the dirt. And here comes Ultraman. Oh yeah, I gotta ruin everything. I understand that they were probably dangerous, but they were so cute.
But they were used by, even the plot. They were used for a purpose.
I know, but when you see them, you're like, Ultraman, come on, man.
Yeah.
Kind of harsh.
Yeah.
But there's nothing gets old about watching him walk around huge. Like it's just so funny to see him just like walking through power lines, and you see like, and I love that they brought that into the cast getting, one of the cast members gets huge. I love that idea too. Like that was a great
as a surprise. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. And go ahead.
I was just going to say the original Ultraman had a sort of a melancholy aspect to it in some ways. There was a couple of storylines that were sort of sad. They had these, like you were talking about feeling bad for the monsters. Mm-hmm. You do feel bad for the monsters in some of them. I remember the one episode where the father loses his son, and he's like, Taro, and his son dies and is reborn as a monster. And then there's the one with the little creature that's on the island, and they shoot a dart into him that's got a balloon up so that they can find him, and then they're trying to kill. It just
makes me sad.
Remember that guy?
Yeah. Oh my God.
Sounds. What's interesting about these, and Shin Godzilla had it too, that there's this geopolitical angle. So they actually bring in politics and how the Japanese government works with world powers to try to. There's one very funny line where like one of the officials or politicians, we only have giant monsters in Japan, so nobody else.
Yeah.
Which was kind of a cool sort of like, it only happens here. It doesn't happen.
It was like for some reason kaiju only attack Tokyo. They only attack Japan. Yeah. I love that line.
I did too.
That was it's canon, I guess. And it sort of explains. It's like, okay, that's why we've never had kaiju attacking New York have in some of them, but
we have in our versions.
Destroy all monsters.
So I can't remember, but the idea that they kind of showed you who he really is, has that been shown before?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Because when I was seeing that, I'm like, I couldn't remember if we actually, knew who Ultraman. I mean, kind of knew who Ultraman was.
The alien Ultraman, right?
Well, the human who becomes Ultraman.
Oh, we always knew that. It was Hayata. Remember, Hayata was the guy.
I guess I was so enthralled by Ultraman, I never really made the connection.
No, there was a character in the original series named Hayata, and he had he would have to run off. It was sort of like a Superman kind of thing, where he would have to run off and hide and hold up the beta capsule, and he would go and become Ultraman, and it would be like this,
But in this film, nobody knew who he was.
Nobody knew in the original either. It was always a mystery.
But they exposed him. Then the world found out who he was in this movie.
Right. But it was always that thing. It was like, wow, Hayata comes running back from behind the rock somewhere, and they're like, Hayata, you missed all the action. It's like, Ultraman saved the day again, and he's like, oh, really?
I couldn't remember how much when they were kind of filling us in, how much I was supposed to already know, because it's been a while since I've seen Ultraman. But, But I was kind of like, I'm glad they kind of gave us some tips to the, filling in the blanks a little bit, but still modernizing it. I thought that was really smart.
I love the character. I think her character's name was Asami. She was part of that whole sort of force, the SSS force, what it was called. She was funny. She was sort of like, go get him. And it's like, patting everybody on the backside.
Yes.
Right.
So weird.
Patting herself on the ass. Like, there we go. She was very go get him.
That was really funny.
Yeah. And those characters in that room, the war room, when they're on their computers, all were very well drawn out individual characters, and I thought they were fun. And so because there's not a lot, there's the initial kaiju battles, but the kaijus go away. And that was a bummer for me, because I just like that. I
want to see more of that.
And I thought there'd be sort of a big climactic battle, but there was a battle, but it wasn't with kaiju.
And they had some good choreography, but it was kind of like, what happened to the monsters?
Yeah.
But it was still great. I mean, I still really enjoyed it. And I feel fortunate, we got lucky because this film was shown at Fantastic Fest. And so we got like a little sneak peek, because it was actually, it's not released here, but it's at some festivals. So we actually did get to see it earlier than most people. But at the same time, it's like everybody has a big surprise coming. It's going to be very fun.
Yeah. This is Hayata from the original series, remember?
Oh, yeah. God, yes, I totally remember that. God,
so
now it's like an idiot.
No, I
we'll
think
edit that part.
Well, Well, again, it's like there are differences in the way this story is told than from the original stuff. I mean, there are a lot of the same stuff, but there's some things that are different that are brought up to date, and just the political stuff. It's like what I said about Shin Godzilla. What I liked about it was it wasn't just a vacuum. It was like sort of today's world, but we have kaiju and we have Ultraman, and it's okay that they're there. It's not like it's so crazy ridiculous. It's like
it's only in Japan.
They're part of life, only in Japan, so they're dealing with it.
Kaiju has nothing to do with the rest of the world.
Yeah,
but I think it's a smart story by Shinji Higuchi, who is the director of Shin.
A cool
he's made a smart move. Like, we don't have to do all that stuff. Like, it's baked into the story. There's not a lot of origin stuff here. It's just like, oh yeah, Godzilla is part of our world. Ultraman is part of our world. We haven't seen him in a while, but he's back. I like that. Get into the story, the new story, without all that back stuff.
Yeah, because there's a reason why people still love Ultraman, and it's what I always say about, going back to the Marvel films. It's what I always say about the Marvel films. Like, there's a reason why people still love those stories, and they still talk about, Jack Kirby and Stan Lee and Steve Ditko and all these great creators, is because what they created was awesome, and you don't need to. I mean, there's ways to enhance those stories, but you don't need to change them into something else, because then why not just write something else?
No, they endure. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you take the original, what is so appealing about Ultraman, that's what this movie kind of did. It took what's appealing about Ultraman and it kind of pushed that. It was like the weirdness of it, and the kaiju, and how outrageous and outlandish things are sometimes. An example that I use is, I love those old 60s Jerry Anderson shows from England, science fiction shows for kids like Captain Scarlet, Thunderbirds, Stingray. They were done with puppets, and when I was a kid, it was fascinating because it was puppets. Everything in it was built, it was crafted. Every prop, everything, even the people in the show were built and crafted, and that's what a lot of people loved about those shows. And then 20 something years ago or whatever it was, they made a live action film of the Thunderbirds with real people in it, and it bombed for some reason.
They took the magic out of it. The magic. You don't take the magic out of it. You take that magic and you maybe accent it, make it a little bit better here and there, but keep the magic in it. That's why people want to see Thunderbirds or any Jerry Anderson stuff.
That's right.
It's the work of a good producer to understand what is the appealing element of the story that you're developing, or the project that you're trying to develop. It's like, what is it about that still resonates with people? And with the Marvel stuff, it's the superheroes and the ideas and the attitudes, that sort of Jack Kirby outlandishness, the craziness that some producers might have toned down. They might have said, well, let's not have them be able to do that. I mean, Hulk, let's just have him turn a little bit green, but not become a monster. That's too much.
We don't want him to be ugly.
Yeah.
Well, it still has to be
we'll
cute.
turn him into Lou Ferrigno, but that's what you could do back in the day. But going back to Shin Ultraman, even though the kaiju sort of go away, there is an interesting alien.
Yes.
I think his name is Zarab. Zarab, yeah. And he was a cool sort of like, he could talk in any language, but of course he's talking in Japanese because, he's in Japan. So he's sort of this weird sort of like one-dimensional guy, you can see him from the front, and when you look from the back, there's no body there. It's just this sort of like facade.
It's like a projection or something. It's very cool.
Yeah, it was very cool.
It was an interesting choice, and he was a cool character, and he sort of, causes lots of problems, brings in,
always.
So it's a lot of fun. It's, I wouldn't put it up there as high as Shin Godzilla. I put it, but still really fun for myself. I would just take it just a notch below, but still well worth it. A lot of love and care went into that movie. Yeah, it's obvious.
Yeah. So I have a few posters if you want to look at those.
Yeah.
So
we have a teaser poster. It's the Ultraman device that you were talking about.
The beta capsule.
Cool. Yeah, it's a beta capsule. That's pretty funny. They have let's look at this one. So then they have like sort of just look, Ultraman. We'll just put him on black and some red and white.
It's Campbell's soup, man.
And then we have
that's a toy. That's like an ad for the toy, I think, because that's the action figure.
Yeah, they put it in with the movies and
Fig Arts. Yeah.
It has the date too, 2012. And then we have the cast cell. Like you wouldn't even know this was Ultraman. Like it's all them looking like we're seeing Ultraman.
Looking at their computer screens or something.
Yeah,
exactly.
And it's interesting how the middle one is the guy that was Ultraman. He's not really looking down at his computer.
That's
He's
true.
looking to the left a little bit.
He knows something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that knowing look.
It's
and he's
pretty cool.
The title in it. And then we have the montage, the classic poster montage.
That's nice.
Yeah, that's a really nice poster. And then I pulled these. This is all for. It looks like they have because a lot of times they'll do posters for different applications. Like IMAX has its own poster. There can be special movie theater posters. So basically, it's the same look. It's him in the city or him on a blue background. So
yeah,
they did a great photo shoot with somebody in this costume. It could have been the actor, it could be anybody, but they have like a great shoot with him. So they just said, let's just put him in a bunch of different environments.
If they had him on set with some of those models, the building models, like the one in the upper right is very cool. Like the sort of looking over his shoulder look.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he looks all muscular in the back.
Yeah.
So it's all very
really
branded. Cool. It's all mostly cool tones, except for the Candle Soup one, which may not have been a movie poster, but it was in IMDb. So I took it.
And the alien, the Zarab alien, he is from the original series too, and this is that's what he looked like in the original.
Cool.
One of those bizarre monster designs that I love so much.
One cool effect was when Ultraman losing his power.
Yeah,
his suit turns from red to green.
Yeah,
that was interesting.
He used to have the classic Ultraman has the
little light.
The little timer that goes beep, 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 beep when he starts losing his power, and then he has to fly into the sun and get his power back. But this one, he didn't have that, and I was kind of wondering, why did they not include that? But then I guess the idea that his suit changes color, that's
kind of cool, too.
The alert, rather than an LED on his chest.
Well,
it's
maybe
modern.
Also differentiate from him from maybe another Ultraman that's out there that, for different colors or something. Who knows?
Yeah,
but
you never know. There might be a few Ultraman out there. You don't know.
Plus, you can sell 2 action figures now.
That's true. Very smart. That's the real reason, Burk.
So smart. I want the Ultraman who's losing his power. Why? Right. I don't know.
To have the complete collection.
I want the one that looks weak.
You want to be the completest for all Ultraman stuff.
This is before and after. See, after he gets recharged, he looks better.
Yeah.
But
it's a cool ass costume. Let's face it, that thing costume is just fantastic.
I wonder if he can see out of that, or if he has to play the whole thing blind.
In the original show, it was interesting that he had those glass looking eyes.
Yeah.
And that you could see like a little tiny hole underneath the eye.
Oh.
A little, like you could see that's where the actor was looking out through the tiny hole, and that the eyes were sort of above that. And what's interesting is that has become sort of canon as far as Ultraman. Even in the toys, they put that little dot under there.
Okay. That's
so
funny.
I think in this one, I'm not sure if they put that in this one.
It'd be interesting if they did. It would be something else if they did do that, just to say, hey, we're just going to keep it exactly the same way. Of course,
They could have CGI'd it out too.
Now you could CGI. You could just have open, a hole there so you could see, and they could CGI the eyes in. But
gotcha. Okay.
But the it would have been. That's sort of what Ultraman looks like now.
That's true.
That's what you expect to see when you see Ultraman. Let's see if there's a dot. Let me look at this again. Yeah, the little dot is like not there. So maybe they didn't use it.
Yeah, maybe not. What about in this one?
Well, I think it's worth checking out if it's going to be playing at a theater near you.
Yeah,
when,
coming soon.
Like see it, if it's coming to IMAX too. If it is, that's would be really cool to see him in IMAX.
But it's very entertaining. It's funny. It's very colorful, and there's still lots of cool monsters. And it's actually a kind of pretty sophisticated idea of bringing something like that into the future. I love that idea. Making it modern with the social media hell. I mean, I like when she's blown up to a giant Ultraman size, and then she has to worry about all these photos that were taking up her skirt while she was huge, which is so classic.
Yeah, it is.
Which I thought was a funny idea.
It's a very smart movie, a smart script. It's not, doesn't go this.
Lots of guest appearances in this episode.
So, if it comes out, you're a fan, you should check it out. Even if you're not a fan, I think you'll still
check it out. Go in blind. It's super fun. You'll be like, what the hell am I watching?
Yeah.
What have I missed my whole life?
Exactly. Yeah. My God, I'm going back and checking it all out.
Yeah.
And you know what? Just as a side note here, I don't work for Amazon or anything like that, but What's interesting is I remember for years it was so hard to get those original episodes of Ultraman. It was so hard to find them. I remember I used to like VHS tape them off the air, and I had almost all the episodes, and friends of mine would trade, oh, I have episode 12, and it was so hard. But now they're on Blu-ray and they look beautiful, and there's all kinds of extras, and they're super cheap if you order them. They're shockingly cheap for the entire original series, the Ultraman, the original series.
Cool. All right.
Love it. All right. Well,
do it.
That was fun.
All right.
Trip down memory from
Check it out.
Yes. Shin Ultraman.
I'll always love Ultraman.
He's the coolest.
He's lovable.
See
All
you
right,
next
everybody.
time.
Bye.
Take care, everybody.